All right, welcome to Raising Funds for World Domination, Day 93. So on this front, there is not too much, nothing new on this front. I almost did more work on the next video, but I got distracted. I decided, when I got up today, I decided to spend a couple hours working on trying to get the new approach to the layer merging algorithm working in the block mining game. And I told myself I'd work on that for a couple hours and then work on other stuff, but I somehow managed to spend most of the day on that, and I did not accomplish much else. But I think the new approach will work, so we will continue with that tonight. So I got it. I got it working with the new merging method, and it's passing all test cases. But the UI in the game is actually broken, and it's actually quite slow. So there's I'm gonna have to come up with some test cases. All right, there's the UI. So jump it around because I think it's printing out way more than it needs to print. My icon has disappeared. Some text is not there. Almost seems interestingly random how this line doesn't appear but the other ones do. Hank Raymond says, "Good Wayment." Excellent. And you're our #1 chatter tonight. I wish I could give money to who serves best as world leader. I hope your journey goes well. Excellent. That's worth even more than money. I'm just gotta figure out why. That's interesting. You got some weird bugs going on. Interesting. Is this Wayment style? That's a good question. Can you rephrase the question? Very interesting. Because there's some weird bugs. All right, let's just add some test cases. You didn't rephrase the question about Wayman's. What text editor is that? This is Vim. Goop. Hello, Goop. Hello, Mentibus. What are you working on? I'm working on some test cases for my terminal-based video game. It's in Java. What's the game about? I guess I can show. I think it's in a passing state. It's kind of broken. The UI is kind of broken at the moment, but I can illustrate what it looks like. I'm currently in the process of refactoring how the layers get merged together, so it's the UI is a bit buggy and very slow. Oh, my icon disappeared. So you wander around this universe. My icon doesn't show up, but you spam the M key to mine blocks in an infinite procedurally generated universe. This looks like you're a movie hacker. Hundreds of lines of green code. Yeah, it's the aesthetic I'm going for. Yeah, anyway, that's the game. It's kind of broken at the moment, but I'm in the process of adding new test cases to improve it. Why did you choose to write it in Java? I chose Java because, number one, I know Java. The other alternatives, JavaScript is not quite an option because it had to be, of course, desktop. And then it wouldn't, C or C++ is not, I've written a lot of C and C++, and I really don't think it's a good language to write so many, do like string concatenations and stuff in, so. And Rust, I'm not a huge fan of Rust. I also don't know it. I think Python is the easiest. I think Python is easy for projects that are less than like a few thousand lines, but I want to continue working upon this for probably quite a while and make it, it's going to be many, many thousands of lines. I think it's currently like 15,000 lines or something. Yeah, for large projects, Python's good for prototyping. I use it as like if I'm writing like throwaway code. Usually I'll write Python. You should use Emacs instead. Nope. Vim is better. Andrew Stevens. Hi, having fun. Lua is the easiest. I've never used Lua, but from what I understand, it's used for writing like UIs for video games and stuff. Really, it's what you know that's the easiest. Yeah, Java is what I know a fair amount of. It's also, I think if I were to have thousands of lines of code written in something, Java is the most kind of portable to a large number of people can understand Java. What version of Java are you working with? 21. I as of a few months ago, I was on, what was that, like a couple of major versions. It was I think 17 before, and then like 11 or something. But I decided to catch up a bit with the times, because I think there was a bunch of dependencies I had that I wanted to upgrade them, and they required the newer versions of Java. So do you have any ideas for the game yet? Like in goals or specific upgrades? I have thousands of ideas. but I need to get the performance to be improved. The user interface just has some significant issues. Are you using WSL for this? Nope, just running Ubuntu Linux. I had cert for Java 6 EE. A cert for Java 6. What exactly does that imply? Is that like one of the certification courses, or? I know there's like a paid version of it or something. The Enterprise Edition. Test from Oracle. Okay. Do you have a complex Vim config? I have absolutely zero Vim config. Any thoughts on if you will use an IDE with integrated AI agents? I have, as of late, kind of I started trying to use IntelliJ a bit more. I've actually kind of just reverted back to just using pure command line for a lot of stuff. It's on my to-do list to I'll maybe do a video at some point once I get to like, my goal is just to forget everything and focus on trying to get to the next release of this game where the performance is not terrible. And then once I do that, I may make that just part of my regular video content. I actually do a really good thorough review of AI agents, and I actually pay for them and try to write some code with them. I want to learn NeoVim. Already know Lua, so halfway there. Yeah, someone mentioned that Lua is the NeoVim config, which I didn't realize that. That makes me a little bit more inclined to maybe actually try and use it. Well, join the channel once you get the release out, so I can try it. Yeah, I was hoping maybe day 100, but I actually kind of think it's going to be a little bit beyond that. This kind of refactoring arc of the layer merging, I had thought I could probably crank this out in a couple days, but then I discovered there's a whole bunch of issues with it. But I think the path I'm on now is good. I can probably, I have two different merging functions, and I think I might be able to consolidate them to one. Now I'm realizing I have a logical issue in here. Money is tight. No worries. I think you were a channel member in the past, so you're already over the $1 threshold for contribution. You've got a lifelong license to the game now. Do you like the idea of a show that takes place entirely in a small town? Like each episode, as the town changes, you get to see all of it in the background. Each episode as the town changes. Maybe. I guess there's lots of ways you could take that questioning. There's whether I like that idea. Like it's not a very specific idea, but there's also the question about would it be commercially viable? Depends what you do in the town. If you're doing really interesting stuff, and what kind of production value you have. Pretty random question overall. Doesn't feel right to not be a member. Check your code and run it. You already met the terms of the license, so that's good enough for me. If everyone just dropped by and sent $1 my way, I'd be very rich. I'd have my $12 billion now for the port. Well, I guess I'd be halfway there. You discuss your current performance tools and how you find bottlenecks, etc. There's a program called Visual VM. I won't bother running it right now, but I run this Visual VM, and actually if you go to the repo and you type in, if you search for profiler running command, where I mentioned that, and I here have an example of how to run the game with the profiler, and that'll connect to it. And it was a bit tricky too, because I'm using Spring, and I have to pass in a flag to what was it? Oh, maybe not. I guess maybe it's with the other debugger. Oh, where is that? I swear that there was something I had to add. I guess, yeah. There's another version of this I think that I had for the IDE, but that might be in the XML file. Oh yeah, I think this is it. I had to -d spring boot. Fork equals false. That was a critical thing for running it. I'll have to check. I don't remember if maybe I should add that to the README. But anyway, what if that small town? What if that small town show has no main character? Every resident gets their own episode, and you get to see other characters that has appeared or will appear, their own episodes there. Sure. I'm like, if you make a piece of content like that, if you made a series, for sure, some people would watch that, whatever it is, and like however you spin it. But at the same time, the question is that project commercially viable? Do you want to make money on it? Then the question is like, is this a fictional thing or like a thing of an actual town somewhere? Because I bet if you go to a random town, small town somewhere, you try to randomly interview people, probably a lot of people wouldn't want to participate. And also, some people are probably very boring. Like they just would not make for good content on camera. Then I guess you could do like a documentary or something where you just interview random people. But yeah, then again, it depends on your objectives. But then again, I'm not. It's kind of out of my expertise. Not really related to software development. Do you use PMD Maven plugin scan for code smells? PMD. I'm not sure. I'll show you my POM file. Let's see. I'm using I forget what all this is for. I think that that might have been for adding versions or something. I forget. PMD Maven Clean plugin. I don't know if any of these are consistent with what you're mentioning, but yeah, a few of these I think. I guess this checks for like warnings and stuff, although that's not quite the same thing as code smells. I find in recent years, there's even some of the some like warnings. Some of the like warnings and errors are almost becoming a bit like too aggressive. They're becoming like I remember years ago when we'd include like dash wall. There was always some action you could take to fix the warning. But increasingly, with some of these linting tools, I see stuff that'll flag something and say you shouldn't do it this way, like refuse to compile because you're doing this. But it's getting, some of them are like kind of grasping at straws. And the question is like, how do you refactor the code to comply with the tool? And in some cases it's, there's a reason you're doing something weird. Okay, my change revealed a failure. What's your opinion on testing? Testing, you just use JUnit or Cactus? I'm using JUnit. Although, honestly, I would say I don't really know JUnit very well. I just know that I use it. I'm not even sure like what exactly JUnit does. Like, is it just like automatically apply some behavior to the add test annotation? I just Google like, proper way to do unit tests in Maven and Java, and there's like just include JUnit and PowerMock. I have no knowledge of PowerMock. Cactus, is that an alternative to JUnit? I actually have no idea what would be the pros and cons between those two. Mockito? Not familiar with those. All Java test frameworks I've had to use. I'm curious, which ones should I be using, and what do they do for me? What is the benefit of answering these intrusive questions? I wouldn't call those intrusive questions. I'd say they're on topic. The channel is about programming and stuff. I mean, I classify intrusive questions as like random personal questions or something. The question about a town, a show set in a small town, that's a pretty random question. What if the small town was in your underground deep sea port? That's a good question. I think that would make a good reality show or documentary or whatever style was planned there. It would live stream it, building the deep sea port. I've been given busy work to use those test framework. I want you to know if anyone else has suffered like me. I'm curious to learn from your suffering, if it's worth it to learn any of those, or like, I would say I use JUnit, but what does JUnit do for me? Well, let's see. Yeah, this here is the only thing I know about JUnit. So I try to run a test, and then it doesn't work, and then I just include org.junit.test, and then the annotations work. That's the only thing I can tell you about JUnit. Hey, Robert, is it worth it to learn coding now? That's a complicated question. You know what? I think this is not correct. I've had to take vibe-coded project from project managers and completely rewrite their garbage to make it work. Yeah, that's not too surprising. That's one of the things that keeps me away from that stuff. I mean, I've tried the AI stuff a little bit, and it seems for like small self-contained stuff, it seems pretty interesting. But it seems like if you're iterating on something that exists, it's not particularly great. If it is what should be the language to learn, and what must be the approach to it. So many agentic AIs are launched who can make app in minutes. I think for like apps and problems and stuff that have been solved a million times, there's lots of examples out there. There's lots of examples out there, so the AI can do a good job, and especially if it's a small self-contained thing. But for larger projects, I think AIs are still I don't have anything hooked up right now, so I won't bother trying it. But I would imagine that if I was asking an AI to like help me with what I'm doing right now, it would just like, it would probably, it would help me, and then it would be like, certainly I'll do this. Like screen layer merging consists of doing these things, and then it would like I remember back when I used to teach at the college, there was a certain style of answer when I was marking exams and stuff that I would see a lot, and it was where like people had zero knowledge of the subject matter, but then they would just repeat back information in the question, and they would just give me like memorized facts that were kind of tangentially about it, and then sometimes they would go on to explain and demonstrate understanding, but it would always start with like you can ask like how do you implement inter-process communication in a microkernel, and then the answer would be like inter-process communication is good for these things, and it would just describe what it is rather than explaining like how to do it. And I noticed that kind of thing with AI responses a lot, and it'll maybe give you a little bit, but then it's like you have to teach. You're still kind of almost doing the work yourself by teaching the AI and fixing it and correcting it when it makes mistakes. shouldn't write off all your own tests. You should work in a team. You should write tests for each other's features. AI agent dropped. Production level databases. They're not doing well. Yeah, it's I mean, honestly, the worst part, the thing that bugs me the most about the AIs is that they're still good. They're good enough that I don't think we can ignore them. It's like if you have a coworker, like I'm sure most people have worked on a team where there's a coworker who like kind of seems good at first, or maybe they're even like kind of overconfident person that like is like, oh yeah, I know all about that, and then they produce work and it's garbage, and you're like, wait a minute, like you didn't solve this problem. Like, oh no, I definitely did, and then you point out some mistakes and like, oh yeah, I guess you're right, but actually, and they just like they almost act like one of these overconfident AIs, and eventually, if you work with someone like that person will earn a reputation of being, the person that always gets ignored, and you can kind of just ignore all the work. But then AI is like almost a little bit better than that. So sometimes AI will come back with a response, and you have to take it seriously, and it knows what it's doing. But then other times it's just like it's extremely good at gaslighting you. It's a mixed bag. Yep. AI is overrated. Only two types of people think AI omniscient. People who own AI company shares. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that. I wouldn't even be surprised if there's a lot of like AI companies using AI to spam everything and say like, "Hey, there's been a couple. It was a while ago now, but there's a couple of things people came in to chat and were like, really, really persuasively wanting me to try out some AI tool, and I'm just like, no, I don't want to. Having said that, I think the ability to like influence media and stuff, I think that's going to be a much bigger impact on society than, writing some template, like better templates, fast JSON deserializers and stuff. Three drawers with a choice. Oh, I know what you're talking about. There's I don't know what that's called. It was based on a game show or something. There were like 3 doors, and then they would open one door, and the key piece of information was they would always open a door that loses. So you'd pick, and then they would open a different door. They would open a door other than the one you picked that exposes something that doesn't have the prize, and then they'd ask you if you want to change your decision or not. And the punchline was that people were debating whether there's an advantage or not, and there is, because of the key. Note that when they randomly open a door, they always open one that loses. So after you have that information, now you actually have a better probability of picking the one with the prize. I don't remember the name of that problem, but it was something to do with the game show. And actually, on that note, I think Veritasium also has a video on that exact subject as well. Did I do that backwards? Any reason you don't put the layer in this initialization in a loop? In here, these are like separate test cases, so I want them to be, I think that the point of test cases is to keep them kind of literal. I guess there probably are ways that I could refactor this to maybe make it more, I don't know, faster to write, but the like everything laid out is literal, so I think it's kind of the point. So I generalize it too much, then I have a risk of introducing bugs into the test code itself. more I think about it, the more I think I have a conceptual problem. I have a flag. I have like a change flag that I'm passing in with the layer. And I actually use the flag to mean two different things in different contexts. So here I use it to indicate if it's actually changed. And it should be printed. Here I'm also using it to signal whether there's a change in the layer at that point. Because otherwise it's a waste of CPU cycles to check it. And then in this function, I guess what I'm using it as, it's a flag. It's a flag to know if that point in the array is actually like active, whether it should be applied or not whether it's changed. This is repetitive, but I think I'm probably going to make more test cases and then make the test cases pass, and then I'll refactor it and make it simpler. B. Stoker says, yo, how's it going? Might have asked this question in a previous stream. Are you using Spring? Yes. I'm using Spring Boot. I'm not sure if that's actually necessary in this application, but I forget why this is necessary. Spring context. Oh yeah, this thing. That was an annoying thing I figured out a long time ago. So yeah, that's the use of Spring. How I've missed Spring. It does do a bunch of useful stuff. Although there's times when I've found myself kind of fighting the framework, and it's like trying to like learn it. I find it seems like it was written by like a mad person. Some of the, especially like there's the reliance on like application context.xml file and stuff like that. I went to some great pains to figure out how to make that purely code instead of having a stupid XML file. Lots of annotation magic. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of annotation magic. The reason I use Java is to get away from magic. But it seems like people found a way to sneak magic back into Java by you don't need the XML file. Yeah, I figured that out, and then but it was took a bit time and effort to figure out how to write my application to not use it. This might just get rid of those UI bugs, but it'll also make it slow. Java reflection at runtime is dark blood magic. Makes it actually work. I'll show you my solution that ended up working. Oh, look at that, still got the same bugs. Nice. How was your dating life at Waterloo, SWE, and now? My Waterloo Eng friends have no life right now. That's not surprising. I found a big part of my experience was it just takes so much time to do assignments. So the way the term would start would be the term would start, you'd meet some new people. In the first week, you don't have assignments yet, so then within the first week, you'd maybe meet some people and say like, hey, let's go get something to eat, or let's hang out, or whatever, in the first week. So then you could interact with someone the first week. Then week 2, you have 1 million assignments. So you're like, okay, once I get these assignments done, and then things line up a bit, and then eventually you'll get some kind of a break, and then so you reach out to people, say like, hey, let's do something, and then now you're on week 2, week 3, but then they're like, at that point they're like, oh, I have all this work to do, I have no time to do anything. And you're like, okay, how about next week? And they're like, next week's good. So then you're like, week 4, you can maybe do something. And then, let's see, when do you get to midterms? Yeah, you're like week 4. You're like, oh, I'm busy. Actually, a thing came up this week, so now it's like week 5, week 6, and then midterms and job interviews start. And so now both of you have no time to do anything. But you're like, once midterms are over, and then maybe after midterms or something, so you have for the whole term you'll have maybe a handful of interactions, handful of opportunities to hang out with someone. And it's not just about your own availability. It's like you're extremely busy and everyone else is busy. And then the term ends and you're like, finally I have time to do stuff. But then everyone leaves to a different country, goes on co-op, and then that's it. That's my answer to your question. Not sure if there's a place to ask. Got ideas on where to go to learn more about Python and or Perl. I don't know any Perl at all. Python, I don't know. I honestly, I'm not passionate enough about Python to know the best place to learn it. I'm early into network engineering and need to do some scripting stuff, but I only have the basics of Python. Honestly, if you do networking stuff, I would suggest that you, if you really want to do, network engineering, I would say at least do a skim of Beej's Guide to Network Programming, which is a famous tutorial. But it's about C programming. But which is not what you asked. You asked about Python. But I would say there's a lot of stuff, like if you learning how to do network programming in Python, almost all of the knowledge that you need to learn exists in the API in the kernel API, which is in C, and the actual Python code is just a thin wrapper for the underlying API, which is in C. So that's something you will encounter in Python. Best place to learn any programming language is do a project. Seems what I do my networking in for my company. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways, like if even when you're it's been a while since I looked at the APIs, but when I was doing for a project, I did some network programming in Python. And I didn't read the Python documentation to figure out all the different blocking behavior and block flags and stuff. Because very often a lot of the behavior for networking stuff is all in flags and structures and stuff. And the actual documentation of those structures is in the kernel API, and it's all in C networking stuff. And if you do find it in the Python documentation, it's literally copied and pasted and translated a bit. And there's usually some like a structure or wrapper. I forget how to do those in Python, but it's just thin wrappers around C stuff. Just read K&R. That's all you need. It's getting old now. Thank you very much. No worries. Python sockets are pretty much one-to-one with C. Funny thing, in 2.7, docs told you to read C socket stocks. Interesting. Debating on this, would recommend I take a networking course over ML course or vice versa. I guess that's a good question. Depends where you want to focus your career trajectory. If your goal is to maybe bank tons of money, and like if you want to go work at OpenAI and make crazy salaries and stuff, I don't know, the machine learning fad will probably eventually there's going to be a wave of layoffs for AI engineers, but we could go on another 10-year bull run where AI is, you can make a lot of bank. I think networking stuff also is pretty, it's probably fairly, probably fairly resistant against AI because a lot of, like I would imagine a vibe coded network application is going to be one of the worst performing applications. Like there's like JavaScript video games, you can vibe code those, but vibe coding like a high performance networking server that doesn't have deadlocks, like if you're playing some crappy video game and the graphics are kind of glitching, it's not a big deal. But if you have some kind of multiplexing socket server and it has random deadlocks in it, then it's kind of a problem. And the AI is not good at solving those. KNR still relevant because you guys didn't move past C89. Yeah, there's too much in the newer versions. I don't know why C Standard Committee even bothers with new C versions. They should make an anti new version. Like someone should release a new standard that removes features. That would be innovation. Call it like C89 minus. Thinking about doing a career in compilers or AI compilers. That actually is an interesting topic I thought about. Like we might be able to skip like a massive amounts of work by using large language models to generate compilers. I was thinking, here's an idea you can borrow that most people won't appreciate, but in the context of compilers, like you have the language hierarchy, I kind of think large language models are almost like it's almost like the equivalent like a Fourier transform or like a Taylor series expansion. It's like a universal. Large language models are a universal function approximator for grammars. So like if you want the maximum efficiency analytical thing, you use like a regular expression or like LL1 or whatever. But with large language models, you can kind of like grow or approximate these to like arbitrary precision. And that almost makes me think you could maybe like, you could probably use AI to grow grammars. Like you could have an AI randomly generated grammar that tries to like do something or conform to something. And then you can have like use an AI to supervise like converging some kind of made up language to like try and get it to conform closer and closer to a given grammar. There might be a way to make new languages that are like simple and fast. I actually think a lot of the innovation to be done in compilers is not just inventing new stupid syntax. It's like about better consideration for the linking step. because they have like, super optimized compilers. It's one thing to optimize the code, but there's a lot of optimization that cannot be done because you don't know. You don't have like a global knowledge of what symbols exist. And as soon as you link in something, then you can immediately do a lot of, you can like static inline stuff, but that stuff is only done at the linking step. Is only possible at the linking step. It's only said by people who shove politics into everything. Yeah, it seems like Radman wants to start some arguments. Okay, let's see if that makes tests fail. Not Radman. Well said. Cool name. One of my favorite characters of all time. Oh, Kira. Yeah, actually, I've no idea who that is. At first, I was like, "Oh, Yoshikaga is a Japanese person." Okay, why did that fail? Expected false, but it's not true. Robert does not watch any shows, unfortunately. I kind of like being in the dark. That way people can tell me about all the interesting things that exist. Here's from a show called JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I've heard of that that show name. I know it exists. I guess for whatever reason, anime related content gets recommended in my feed a lot. Actually, not so much anymore. There was that show, or that podcast called Trash Taste. I have no interest in anime, but it would always come up in my feed, and I click on it sometimes. One of the best villain characters. Sounds like incel talk. What do you mean by that? And who are you even talking to? So that did break things, and I need to fix that because this should come through with a non-changed flag. That might work. Future One Piece fan? Is that another anime? Let's get back on topic. That C is the best lang. Trash Chase is not anime only podcast, so you can probably enjoy most of the episodes. Yeah, they talk about I guess Japan is really unique, so it's always endlessly fascinating to like hear about the strain. Like, I mean, these are like the things I should not waste time listening about, but like hearing how difficult it is to set up a bank account in Japan, even though I will probably never set up a bank account or get an apartment in Japan. See, fans complain Rust fans are annoying, but act like Radman. I need to write ls in Rust and include it in Ubuntu. Honestly, I do think there's for like a lot of middleware software, it is in this day and age, we definitely need something better than C. Or what I think should have happened, like if I controlled the world, I would have maybe like made something with like have better compiler tools or like annotations, add additional annotations to C, or even you can have like something. I think we could have like I think there's a lot of innovation to be done about thinking like have external annotations in a separate file, like in a JSON file or something, so you can annotate functions in a project or objects files, functions, whatever, and you can annotate objects in a program in a way that gets fed into the compiler. So then the compiler, so like you can, all those kinds of borrow checker things that Rust is doing, that could be done like externally via some other thing that hooks into the compiler, like an extra compiler plugin. And then we could just keep writing stuff in C or in C++ or whatever. And we wouldn't have to like have a new language. But I think in this day and age, continuing to do like string manipulations and stuff in C is pretty crazy. There is a sore need to rewrite it in something. I don't know anything about Go, but it kind of sounds like Go is a pretty reasonable competitor. Serious security flaws in CAD and LS. I'm not even sure if you're joking. Having gone through the core utils commands, like looking at the code for the core utils, I honestly, I would be very surprised if there wasn't a ton of, like there's probably tons of 0 days in the core utils. Pretty much everyone does the like the basic use case of LS, I'm sure is well tested, but as soon as you start doing like, as soon as you start using like complicated flags and stuff, I'm sure there's a ton of crazy corner cases and stuff. Like even actually I have a video that describes the topic, but like there's even a case, if you want, you can get the true command. The true command can return false if you like close the output file descriptor and stuff. And definitely take a 3 kilobyte binary, make it 3 megs. Is that what Rust does? I mean, that seems kind of silly. Fundamentally, like it should be all the same assembly instructions. Or I'm sure that the Rust would add like a few bounds checks or something, but it shouldn't make it that much bigger. The future, what are you most excited about? And on the same coin, most scared about? I think about AI, but you might have other ideas and so on. AI will be a pretty big deal. I think that is a good answer to that question. We also there's a lot of geopolitical instability. Like actually, one of the reasons I haven't gotten a ton of work done lately is I'll check the news and see what's going on. And there's always like, the last couple of weeks, every day has been like really crazy, like bombshell, like literal bombshell stuff happening in the world. And I'm like, I should probably do work, but this is like could change the future of this news, and I'll watch that clip, and then a couple hours later, there's some new crazy stuff going on in the world. New wars starting up every day. Linux should be more like Windows NT. I'm not sure if I agree with that. Developers. Maybe I need another flag. should join as YouTube member or instead patron. Which is best? I think Patreon takes less of a cut, but also YouTube is when people join on YouTube, I think it's also like a good signal for my channel. So I think it pushes the content out to more people. But I think they take a 30% cut on YouTube. But I'd say whatever's easiest for you. You seem up to date with politics. Any one of them intrigues the most? And any one of them? What do you mean by any one of them? There's lots of stuff going on geopolitically. I think there's I don't know, the whole situation with Iran. I don't think that's like the U.S. dropped bombs on another country, like significant bombs, and there's been no significant retaliation yet. But I think there might be something in the future. Radman, you seem to really, really want to get people arguing. I've heard that Rust fixes everything. I've heard some people who have that sentiment too. Thank you. Welcome to the member tier. To Mans Nielsen. Thank you very much. Javier Millet is the best news on the planet. Yeah, that's a whole. What's new down in Argentina? Did he fix the economy? Strait of Hormuz might cause World War III. Yeah, that whole situation, like that's a big deal because there's so much stuff that goes through there, and even if nothing changes, like the cost of shipping insurance and fuel and stuff is going to go up. Elixir says hello. He has the best hairdo of the world leaders. Oh, thank you very much. I'm glad someone takes notice. It's Bridger. Oh, I think I recall. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember that name from other evenings. Millet is awesome. Wish he was PM of Canada. Certainly gets a lot of attention in the media, but has he fixed things? What are you doing today? Working on trying to fix some bugs in the block mining game. I'm trying to fix the layer merging algorithms. The key problem I'm trying to solve is there's a bunch of bugs where you have multi-column characters that obscure other characters when you try to merge the layers together. And that's been a source of bugs and frustration in trying to write this to be correct. Carney loves Ghislaine Maxwell. I think you're just, at this point, you're just kind of spamming. Let's keep all the Epstein discussion to a minimum. I'm tired of hearing about that. I just want them to do whatever they do, and if they're not going to do anything, stop talking about it on the news all the time. Going to bed. Hope you fix the bugs. Have a good night. Redman is trying to get you demonetized. Yeah, there's a reason I don't monetize these streams, and it's if people want to come here and spam stuff like that. True facts. Are you trying to get me demonetized? So you do have an intention to get me demonetized? My hope is that if there's anything too bad, like I have the default chat set on, so if something shows up in the chat, it's because YouTube has allowed it through their filters. It'd be kind of stupid if they ban me for someone chatting something that they were able to filter. I don't know if that's an admission of guilt or not. Yeah, I don't either. Might not ban YouTube algorithm will shadow ban you. Yeah, that is a concern I have. I would prefer to have less people who come here and spam that kind of stuff. Just tell them CPP or free healthcare at risk. They vote for you. I don't know how that relates to anything else. That just seems like a random comment. It's absolutely not perfect always, but I really like that YouTube recommend your videos for me a while ago. Without the algorithm, I'd not be here. Excellent. You inspired me to start coding a substitute for NMTOI. I'm doing it in C using curses. Interesting. Also check out, I think it's called not curses. There's a guy who did a search for not curses demo on YouTube. There's some interesting stuff there. I haven't checked it out, but from what I understand, he seems like a crazy genius guy, the guy behind it, and I think not. Curses, I think, is not thread safe and stuff. I don't know how good his software is, but I was showing your channel, talking about rent and landlord squeeze. I was like, all right, we're going to build some shiz. Yes, I meant to say in curses. Better correct to curses. I think I've seen it. I think I've seen it referred to both ways. So there's N curses, just the letter N, and then curses, and then there's not curses, which is another completely different project that a guy made. So if you search for not curses, it's like a super impressive. I don't fully understand exactly what he actually developed, but it's basically like a terminal, I guess, library that you can use. You can have much higher like pixel resolution graphics, but it'll work through like an SSH session with no X forwarding. So it's like pure terminal based stuff. And Chris is pretty old. Yes, it is. And it's apparently not thread safe and has some issues. But I guess it's other than not curses, I don't think there's any real alternatives to it. Look at it. Not a huge fan of the MMTY UI. Yeah, I'm actually not super familiar with that. I don't use end curses at all in this project. I think a lot of the stuff, if I was to use end curses, I'd probably use it for like, so it has some mouse support functions and stuff for like keyboard, like detecting shift and key up and key down and stuff. Interesting. headed to bed. I would write your test cases if you let me. Maybe once I get the behavior locked down, I may. Well, that's okay. Anyway, have a good night. All right, that makes sense. I think I have like a logical issue here with how I'm using those changed flags. I may have to rethink that. I think it's also going to be necessary if I want to merge those two functions. Okay, this is how the code worked many days ago. So it did not check change flags. Oh yeah, I'm not setting this. Which is a problem. Out of the blue question, do you have any favorite band or artist? I don't know if I have a favorite one. I listen to a lot of the random electronic music and stuff that comes up in my recommendations. Crystal Castles is one that I listen to for a decent period. And interestingly, their songs show up in a lot of like random TikTok edits and stuff that I don't expect. Crystal Castles is cool for sure. I heard they broke up a while back. Yeah, I've heard of it. There's some controversy there, and I don't know. I don't have an opinion on the band breaking up, but I remember there was back when they were still together, when I was in school, they came and they played somewhere in Toronto. And I remember talking to one of my friends who was also a fan of them. And we were suggesting going, but we never did, unfortunately. Follow-up question, your opinion of TikTok. I actually I haven't even had time to look at TikTok in a while, but back when I did, it was the content on TikTok. I find every time I use TikTok, I come away from the experience questioning my understanding of reality and society. TikTok is it almost sounds like a boomer thing to say, but of all the social networks, it really does seem like the one that in a way that's really hard to articulate. It almost seems like a mind manipulation device. Like there's the concept of everyone understands the concept of memes, or the language that young people use. And I think it's true of every generation. Young people kind of invent their own language so that grown-ups don't understand them, and it makes, it helps to develop community and stuff. But what I found is the way the development of new language and neologisms and memes, and the memes get layered many times. One recent meme was that spinning cat with the funny sound, and people would make parodies of that, and then parodies of the parodies. And I mean, another examples are the skibidi toilet meme, and there's multiple derivatives of that, and it's getting harder and harder to understand. And when people see stuff like that, when you see a video of something nonsensical that has 1 million views, you're like, oh, I gotta what's with this? I gotta understand it. So you have you don't want to be the only person in the room who doesn't understand what a symbol or a piece of language means. So there's this very human curiosity to figure out okay, what's going on here. But social media has kind of accelerated that. When you join a new tribe, Skibidi Toilet, Gen Alpha, even Gen Z doesn't get it. Yeah, and I think I've noticed there's certain memes and language and stuff that there are trends that you see on YouTube that I just kind of like one in the last few years. People say that if something is mid, meaning it's not very great, and I just picked up on that because I heard it a few times. But on TikTok, it seemed like there is this reinvention of new language. It happens at such a rapid pace. It's it's really difficult to figure out what is even going on. And I think it's even to the extent where even if you are young and you consume that content all the time, it's hard for you to understand the latest memes. So I don't know, it's I think actually President Z described the internet as being spiritual opium, and that actually almost seems like the way, a perfect way to describe the new internet now. It's it's so engaging and interesting, and it's good, but it's like an addictive opium. There's constant stimulation. Stimulation that's it's questionable if it's useful. TikTok also has heavy-handed censorship, so TikTok generation has created almost a new language to communicate. Yeah, that's the that I think is a really significant, and it's I've thought about where does that end? because like large language models are really good at figuring out what people are talking about and like if someone's joking or not. So what it's going to necessarily mean is that the consequence of this is in order to like signal and communicate stuff, you're going to have to like go closer to the noise floor. So if I want to, joke about something that's going to get censored, I have to, use like terms like unalived. And I mean, right by now, large language models have probably figured out what the word unalived means. Or in YouTube videos, people will talk about like some person was arrested with a pew pew, or those kinds of things. But eventually, that will become too obvious. So now I have to. What was it? I saw someone on a video the other day. They called, instead of a pew pew, they called it like a piece or something. Or like a stick or something, or like they just make up random words, and the consequence of this is going to be to truly communicate, to be in the know, to communicate with others. If you want to send a message, you're going to have to send the message closer and closer to the noise floor statistically, and so that's going to make your speech more and more cryptic. But then the large language model has to work harder and be more sensitive. So that's going to almost make the censorship worse. Because the large language model has, if it really wants to detect the censorship, when you're talking, saying like, hey, I want a piece of cake. Because maybe if I talk about like, oh, I need a piece of cake, maybe that's my new way of signaling something. And so then the large language model is going to get more and more crazy. So it's going to basically mean like we're going to have large language models that have like paranoid schizophrenia and are censoring everyone, and they're like hallucinating meanings in like innocuous things that people are saying and doing. And that seems like a possible, like if we continue to ramp up the censorship, that's I think one of the end games, or not necessarily, it's not necessarily a goal, but I think that's going to be a consequence of the new world we live in. Every TikTok is going to be like complete nonsense, super cryptic. Interesting thought. I wonder how this will affect even inner monologues. Yeah, and I also think like when you if let's say you go to a friend's house, or you're in a friend circle or something, you're talking to people, and then somebody says something and like you don't understand, like someone talks about a piece or something, or and you're like, what does that mean? And like people kind of laugh or something. I think there's a peer pressure to not be like a stupid person who does not understand the language. But I think as a language becomes more and more cryptic, it's going to make people like, not only language models are going to get more paranoid, but people are going to get more paranoid. They're going to be like, are you talking about, or can I interpret your words literally, or are you like trying to signal something to me under the threat of getting censored? And I think this like the fear of even the implication and fear of censorship is causing people to people are anticipating censorship, so they're making speech more complicated, which increases the cognitive load to understand what anyone's talking about. And if you're already not like the smartest person, it's kind of going to mean like the minimum bar to understand, the minimum bar to fully understand and integrate reality around you, or like any kind of information or news or anything you see on the internet, is going to get way higher. It's just going to be like in the future, I think people will walk up to a computer and look at it, and they just won't understand any of the news. They'll be like, is it AI? Is it a joke? Is it fake news? For some reason, I get kind of angry that this is a thing. I mean, sure, there are reasons for YouTubers, for example, to not get demonetized. Yeah, and the thing is, like, once it becomes common enough, the language models can just figure out that those they're trying to avoid those words, so then they can shadow ban them anyway. I think doing this much censorship is too much. Yeah, I mean, to some extent, there are certain things you don't really want people saying on the internet, but language-wise, for me at least, makes a parody of a very serious thing. Yeah, it is, and it's and that's on like the most serious topics, like crime. When crimes happen, to talk about a crime that's happening, you have to like invent this like parody story. Scary. You're right. The pure basic understanding between people breaking down would only cause people to be more irate. Stack that on top of all the other typical hardships of modern life. Yeah, actually, that's one of the things I've kind of concluded from being online a lot, and also from discussions with people in chat, because people are always asking me for like takes on stuff. And what I've kind of realized from like looking at mainstream media, and like more and more people are not interested in mainstream media. Like more and more people seem to be ingesting news from other people. Like more and more people seem to be trusting another person in their network that they trust, like an online creator or a person in their personal life, to be the person who integrates the information from the internet or whatever their selected sources are. Like people really like to watch, streamers and stuff react to the news. And I've realized that I think that is kind of where we're heading, where people are not going to get the news from the mainstream. Like, I think the mainstream media will still exist, and it really should exist. And in a way, it would almost probably be better if the mainstream media kind of just rebranded itself as like the official propaganda department of the government, because that's I think what people will come to view it as. And it makes sense for the government to have its own megaphone to get out information that they want. But then individuals, like there are some people out there who spend all their time watching like, weather, like the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration's like, notice bulletin of like severe storms and stuff, or like, fishermen or something. They want news and information that's relevant to them, so they'll integrate information from there, and probably also some YouTubers to talk about shipping law and stuff. And the process of actually like interpreting the news involves filtering through like AI and not getting scammed and misled and stuff. And it seems like that's probably where we're headed. We're gonna have more. People are gonna get their news from just like a random person on YouTube reacting to something. Because honestly, it is actually a job. It's a lot of work to like spend all day on Twitter, clicking through tweets and stuff. And it helps if you have someone who has like seen all the videos of explosions and stuff, to be like, that's an old video. That's like when the Israel-Iran thing happened. There were some videos I saw. I immediately recognized. I'm like, that was the Tianjin explosion that happened in like 10 years ago. But if you didn't know that, you would could think like, oh wow, this is happening right now. It's crazy. Society will make it pretty dang hard for people to come together through understanding each other to make big changes. Kids read books in school with more serious language. I think social media is tripping. Do kids actually read many books in school? Or are they on TikTok all day? Any advice for bug bounty hunting? I have no experience in bug bounty hunting, to be honest. Sorry, I don't. Maybe someone watching has some advice. Feel free to suggest in the chat. Let's see, does this fix the bug? No, I was going to do something else, maybe. So we set that to false. What is the world domination thing? I actually have a video on my channel called My Plans for World Domination. It's one of the, I think it's like a couple videos ago. Are you worried about AI? Nope. Good night, Rob. See you tomorrow. See you later. Care to elaborate on your general feelings about AI? You know, that should probably be one of my next videos. I keep getting that question. More discussion of Carney. I may start timing you out if you do, but I guess you can try your luck. $12 billion. Yep. That's a lot. I think it's a reasonable place to get started. Let's see if that works. I believe in you anyways, even though I don't know who you are. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Interesting. Still just as messed up as before. I guess it might be a little bit less laggy. That's good. All right. Java. Since I've begun the Kotlin journey, been less keen on Java, but the language is evolving. Modern Java is nice. Yeah, I upgraded to Java 21, but I haven't yet to even really take advantage of many new Java features. There's you can do like some crazy closures and streams and stuff, and I'm not even that familiar with it. What are you making? I'm making a terminal-based video game where you simulate the process of mining blocks of iron ore. Let's see, is that, well, let me, okay, Big Dog, keep up. Good work. Keep your mind sharp against the debilitating bots and social media algorithms. Game is coming along well. Thanks. Have a good night. I'll probably call it a night anyway. As well. I didn't get as many good test cases as I thought, but I think I've articulated that I think I need to maybe have 2 flags. And that'll maybe resolve some of my change detection problems. Anyway, I think I'll leave it there for tonight. And we'll be back tomorrow for day 94. All right, talk to you later.